first like to just apologize to the senior command at the Ottawa Police Service, because the decisions of the board should have been kept private until such time as I, as the chair of the board, had the opportunity to communicate with the senior command the reasons for the decisions we were making. And I out of courtesy and respect for the office of the mayor, I briefed him this morning on what had transpired at the board meeting, and he decided to use that as a political ploy to unseat me and other members of the board. I mean, I guess I should have known that he would do that, but I guess it still always surprises me that people decide to do that. But, I had a brief chat with Deputy Chief Bell when I asked him to serve as the interim, and I told him that the board were considering our options at that time when I spoke to him for a longer term interim. We recognize that we need to have a full community consultation on determining who the next chief was. But if you know anything about the structure inside Ottawa Police right now, you know that the senior command is flying with one wing. We have one of the senior deputies on suspension with pay, and Chief Slowly just left. So we don't have a senior command. We just hired a CEO, a brand new CEO, and Blair Dunker, great person, great woman. I think she's going to do a fantastic job, but she's brand new. So our senior command, and we have an acting, so our senior command is really, really thin. That puts a huge amount of pressure on the people that are there. It's not enough, especially in a crisis. And the board, who, by the way, has the decision-making power. This body doesn't. I know you're all so offended that I didn't share it all with you, but you have no decision-making. We operate under a different act. You don't have a role to play. That's the simple fact. You don't. And so when the board made the decision, the board made a decision to go with an interim that would bolster the senior command and assist with the plan to end this crisis as soon as possible. It was made the entire board was unanimous. I heard one of my colleagues earlier say it was unilateral. It was a unanimous decision of the board. It was made in consultation with the Office of the Solicitor General, our advisor, who has said to us that he believes that it was the best decision. It does not change Deputy Chief Bell's role in the organization. In fact, he will be well placed to be the next chief of police. It's assisting, and it was choosing someone who had a skill set that we believed would be helpful, one, for the interim, and two, for assisting to bring an expeditious end to this illegal occupation of our city. And it was the board's decision to make. It was made thoughtfully, and I'm just actually gobsmacked that council, who have a very little understanding of the very complex world of police, have decided to use this political ploy to second guess the people that serve on that board. And I leave myself aside, but I have to say, for the members of the board that have given so much of their thought and their time and their knowledge base to this board, what you are doing here tonight is just despicable. And that is why the board unanimously made a decision to get them more help that they needed right now. So, I know you're all very wise, but you don't know what you're talking about. That it's just as simple as that. And you say, one of the councillors said, should do everything in her power. Well, you're destabilizing the oversight body for Ottawa Police in the middle of the biggest crisis in this city's history. That's not doing everything to bring this to an end. That is being ridiculously political. And you know that you're doing it because it's an opportunity to try and deflect away from the mayor, who made in my estimation, just a horrendous decision to negotiate with terrorists and to put 40 more trucks into the core, like just mind-boggling. And anyway, I can't even go there. And then I find the breach of conduct allegation that the mover of the motion is making just the most horrendous thing that I've heard in a while. Because, I mean, my name is to be unseated as the chair of this board for breach of conduct. I can tell you, I have not breached any conduct. I don't know who leaked anything, but it wasn't me. And you can do all the investigations in the world. I did not breach conduct. Oh, so I should be taken off the board for breach of conduct, which I had no part in. But when Councillor Tierney leaked a legal memo on the Rideau sinkhole, no consequences to the Watson Club. Oh, and when Jan Harder was found in breach of our code of conduct more recently, in terms of a planning matter and hiring someone that on her payroll that was also a consultant, no consequences. She had to step down, but that's it. I did not breach any code of conduct, and I'm being told I'm being replaced for breach of code of conduct. Anyway, it's just fascinating little aside. I want to talk about the board. This board has worked effectively as a board for the last 3 years, and yes, we have been criticized. The board brought in the first Black chief in our history, which we are very proud of, to change the way policing is done in the city of Ottawa, because frankly, it was way back in the 1950s. It was very much a half a century back. And we decided to bring policing into the next century. And we have made a lot of enemies doing that. The Police Association, who want a law and order cop at the top and who want all the money City Council will send their way, are not happy with us. And the far left, who think we should defund police and not have a police service at all, oh, they're not happy with us either. But you know what? This board was determined to bring about progressive change to policing in the city of Ottawa. We did it thoughtfully, we did it rationally, and we did it with the best interest of the community that we serve. That's what we have done. And I am proud of every single member of the Police Services Board: Daljit Nerman, Carol Ann Meehan, Ralston King, Sandy Smallwood, Beverly Johnson. I think I might have forgotten one. There's 7 of us, but they have done an outstanding job, and they have worked so hard. And none of you know the time and effort that it takes to do the jobs that all of them do on this board. None of you know the time and effort that I have put into this. I put 30 to 40 hours a week just into the role of chairing the Police Services Board. We're also the employer. We're the employer for 1,700 people in police service. We do the labor evaluations. We do all kinds of things as an employer that you know nothing of, but it is very time-consuming job. And I committed to doing it. And I believe that I have done that job well. And I have worked hard. And I can tell you, for the last 20 days, you may not have seen the effort. You might think I haven't picked up the phone and called you often enough. But we have done a number of briefings. On the 26th of January, before those trucks even rolled into town, I set up a briefing for you, for this council. And you might think I haven't answered some of your email. Believe me, I have 10,000 emails in my box. I've been doing my best, but it has been a huge thing. I have worked 20 days. I have not had a day off. I'm not complaining. I took on this role and I want this occupation to end, and I have given it my heart and my soul with everything I have. I've worked 12 to 14 days hours a day, every single day since this started. I've asked the questions. The board has asked the questions. The board has worked so hard. They have brought in the SOLJA and they've said, is there anything we haven't done? Like, we're really worried. Is there more we can do? We have pressed for resources. I've phoned multiple members of parliament and MPPs and everyone I could think of to get resources. We have worked to do the job. And yeah, I know, like, I read Twitter and I know I haven't done enough. And I'm sure there's lots of blame to go around. But I can tell you, the Solicitor General who oversees us, they told us in our briefing yesterday that this board has done an amazing job. And, you know, you worry about who we have chosen as an interim chief. Well, I can tell you that this person has an impeccable record. He has a background in policing that would be very useful to bolster the senior command. And you're going to say, oh, you didn't do a process. You did it too fast. We're in a crisis. We needed to act quickly, and the board recognized that. We put a protracted process in place for that very reason, because we recognize we needed to move expeditiously to shore up this, to get this job done, to get these damn occupiers out of our city. That is our whole focus. And for all of you armchair critics to sit there, that, you know, Councillor McKenney said that you haven't picked up the phone and called them. Well, I have. They will tell you, I have called them many times to see what I can do on the board to assist. And I have worked with the downtown councillors in an effort to make sure that they were getting what they needed. I did that. None of you did. So, you know, you want to criticize me? Go ahead and criticize me. Criticize me all day long. But we have worked in the best interest of this city. For those of you who tell me that you should have been told more about this, well, actually, no, you shouldn't. And when the mayor, I asked the mayor long ago if I could, Chief Slowly and I could come to council and do briefings to council, just to increase the education level of the police service. We take 10% of the budget. And members of council should have at least a knowledge of what's happening there. And when I wrote that letter to the mayor, I'll quote the mayor's own words to me when I asked just simply for the chief to brief council on an item of importance. Here's what Mayor Watson wrote back to me. The independent status of police services boards and limited role of municipal councils are hallmarks of the police governance model defined by the Police Services Act and its predecessor legislation. The Police Services Act makes it clear that there is no role for members of council to direct the OPSB or OPS on policing matters. Mayor Watson was right then, and that's still right today. And we have been working under this legislation. And I can tell you the advisor from the Solicitor General's office sent me a message this afternoon when he heard about these political shenanigans that are taking flight on the floor tonight. And he said, just wanted to let you know that the new act, which hasn't been proclaimed yet, would preclude council from doing this for exactly the reason we are seeing playing out on your council floor today, because council is not to interfere in the working of the police board. And they're going to change that in the act to stop you from acting exactly as you are acting today. So I just thought that what might be interesting for your edification to know that you're sticking your nose where it doesn't belong. If you had wanted to have a role in the decisions of the Police Services Board, you should have stood to put your name forward, to do all the work, and to go through all the seminars, and to understand all of the information in this complex world of policing. You should have done all that. You haven't done any of it. You just sit back and decide to damn the people who have worked hard in very tough circumstances for doing their job. I also want to say a few words about Chief Slowly. The board that I chaired hired Chief Slowly. Chief Slowly came to this city as a change agent. And yeah, I'm going to tell you something. I haven't been happy about the slowness of the response in this crisis. But let me also say that this city, a municipal police service, was not prepared for a national crisis, for a national occupation. The early intelligence did not give us an indication of what was coming at us. And inside OPS, with the number of police officers that we have inside OPS, we do not have the knowledge base to do this type of crisis planning. We've had to build that in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, I've been frustrated that it has been slow. It's been too slow for me. I've been horrified at what I have seen in the last 20 days. But I can tell you that Chief Slowly was a good chief. He came here with the best of intentions. He came here with a progressive agenda of change on diversity, community policing, and a new approach to policing, which we sadly need. And you know what makes me the saddest of all today? You are unseating a progressive board that was bringing about important and progressive change in policing in the city of Ottawa, and you're going back to the 1950s. You're going back to give Matt Scoff and his police association, who I'm sure are popping the champagne corks tonight, to give them all the money they want for their old style law and order. That's what you're doing. And you know, I know that you also, many of you behind the scenes, tried to interfere with the police services budget in December, and you tried to make sure that we lost that vote to take a little tiny bit of the increase in money and put it into a mental health strategy. That was too much for most of you to bear, but it was the right thing to do for the community, and the police board did it. And ultimately, you got forced to support it at City Council when you passed our budget. So, you know, we've been working hard. We didn't roll out the red carpet for a bunch of trucks to go on Wellington Street. And I didn't agree with it. And I know Mayor Watson was very mad at me when I said that he shouldn't be negotiating with domestic terrorists. And I guess this is the price that I pay. But ultimately, you get to decide who sits on your police services board. I can tell you that many of you, I mean, will be lame duck in a few months. The people that are taking out the leaders in police, you'll be lame duck, you'll be going on to your next jobs or your retirement, but you will have set the police services board and the police service in this city back years by playing politics tonight. So I don't think you should be very proud of yourselves. I think you actually, if you reflect on this, you really should be disgusted. And I think, I just, you know, I want to say to Carol Ann, who I know is very upset about this. Carol Ann has worked hard on this board, and Ralston is a very principled human being and has brought a lot to the board. And Sandy Smallwood has been an absolutely outstanding vice chair that has a knowledge second to none. And that is a huge loss. All of these people, it's a huge, huge loss. You don't know how many times we relied on Sandy Smallwood and his incredible knowledge base to help us make very tough and complex decisions. And so your actions here today, you have destabilized the police service. You have destabilized the police services board. You have played ugly, dirty politics in the middle of the biggest crisis in the city's history. And I hope every single one of you who votes with Mayor Watson on this today pays the price at the polls in October, because you surely should.